Academy Award winner Robert Downey Jr. makes his Broadway debut this fall at Lincoln Center in the play McNEAL. Robert Downey Jr. plays a brilliant writer who's struggling to connect with his estranged son while also trying to finish his latest novel. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Well, welcome
Thank
to
you.
Broadway. How does it feel to be in Lincoln Center? I mean, we're in the sort of the rehearsal room of Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
You are treading the boards of the Vivian Beaumont. I mean, what does all this mean to you?
Well, first of all, this is our large rehearsal space, and this is now my home. I spend more time here than I do anywhere else. I've learned more here in the last couple weeks than I did in the entirety of all the theater experience I ever had. But I'm able to bring all the experience I've had in other mediums back to here. And so it feels unnaturally natural.
When I sort of first fell in love with Broadway, you didn't really get people at sort of the peak of their career coming to Broadway, and there's this new beautiful wave happening. I mean, you know, Jessica Chastain actually came right after winning an Oscar as well. I love this. I think you beat her though. You're coming even a little quicker. So why is now the time?
You know, I'd like to pretend that I have some grand design about how things happen. Susan Downey handed me the script. I looked at the title, I said, that's a cool title. She goes, it's theater. I love this writer. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not going to try to color your experience of reading this. And I knew I was doing it practically from jump.
Wow.
I was absolutely certain I was doing it before I was done reading it. When that happens, there's no why. You just feel like, oh, because I feel like, oh my God, like this is a gift.
So this guy, McNEAL, very successful novelist, finds out he's sort of in a health crisis.
Yep.
Beginning of the show.
Yeah, and this is Ayad. You know, I think he's a preeminent voice. And I believe now that more people are going to understand that literature is alive and well in America, and theater is one of its primary points of expression. So imagine just this, if I'm pitching you as an actor who's kind of, you know, had a pretty good career. Okay, so a guy basically gets a terminal diagnosis and is awarded the Nobel Prize in the same day. You go like, I'm in.
Yeah.
But then that's not enough. The journey of what Ayad has to say about humanity, about why art matters, about the cultural kind of expression of what it means to be human is still relevant and can only be expressed by humans. But this takes place in the near future where that's all in question. And then you add Bartlett Sher to the mix and I'm like, oh my God. And I was not incorrect. It's been astonishingly cool.
So there's also a metahuman digital likeness. Is that the phrase?
Sure.
Of you? Have you met your metahuman?
Digital Downey, we call it for short. I was working with the Russo brothers, who I'll be working with again, and between Avengers films, we were capturing this just because nowadays it's almost like insurance against identity theft. And so that was another connection point when this came. I was like, oh, let me put my team with Jake Barton, who's doing a lot of the tech design.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was just pretty synchronistic. Look, this stuff only goes so far. It'll never be us, we'll never be it. But I think that we have to come to some sort of homeostasis of understanding how to be good stewards of this emerging technology.
Is AI something that keeps you up at night? Obviously, it's been a hot topic. It's been a hot topic in Hollywood and everywhere.
Right. Well, I'm not jaded. I've just seen so many, just even in my usual day job, you know, films and television and stuff, like, I've seen so many technologies come through that people are like, oh my God, this is a game changer. And 20 minutes later, it's boring. And I think that particularly as an American artist, we have contempt for those things that are trying to tell us that it's out of our reach. We're very comfortable with owning the power of ourselves as innovators. And I think that that's a quintessentially, not to make a blanket statement, but American trait. So I'm really glad that McNEAL represents this kind of dying out generation of American folks who don't quite understand the implications, but they're willing to explore and not feel too daunted by it.
It sounds like such a forward, modern play, and it's going to be a beautiful physical production from what I've seen at the Vivian Beaumont, which I think is one of the grandest Broadway venues.
It's bananas. I mean, I think audiences can expect the unexpected. It truly, truly, as we're fleshing it out, I'm realizing more and more that this is the right next move. And Ayad and Bart and this absolutely fantastic cast, I think we're gonna put on a good show.
Theater is very special because, you know, when you're sort of locked in a room with a bunch of people for a couple hours, it's exciting. I mean,
yes.
I was reading the story that Philip Seymour Hoffman saw you, right, do the play up in Rochester when you were a teen.
Yes.
And was inspired, I mean, which is such a beautiful thing to hear. And that's the type of stuff that happens on Broadway. Are you excited to have that interaction with a bunch of humans in a room?
Of course, you know, and I've always gone and seen my peers who were doing theater. I went and saw Jeremy with Enemy of the People, Jeremy Strong. But, you know, we're all kind of in an escape room right now, and the only way out is to put on a show.